Oh my gosh, it's been a couple of years since I've been on this stage, but it's really nice to be back. Thank you. Well, I have a lot to talk about today, if this microphone will let me. Oh my God. Beautiful. Hello? Okay. Yes, I have a lot to talk about, so I will get right into it. It says a decade in animation, but technically I've been working for about 13 years, but decade just sounded a little nicer, so that's what I went with. Today I'll be telling you about my career in animation from fresh out of college to present day, and the biggest lessons I learned during those years. But I also wanted this to be a conversation. These lessons were personal to my growth as an artist and storyteller and likely won't apply to every person here. So after every little segment, I'm copying this from a talk Matt Brawley did a couple years ago, so shout out to him. So after every little segment, I will open the floor to 2 questions from the crowd. And then if we have time at the end, we will continue doing a Q&A because I love to have a conversation. Now, without further ado, a decade and some change in animation. Starting with college and the start of a job hunt. So my last year at the School of Visual Arts was hectic. I was busting my ass trying to finish my thesis film. I was applying to so many internships and so many different jobs, and I kept getting rejection after rejection after rejection. And then finally, I did get an internship for a small studio called Jib Jab Inc. that specialized at that time in making e-cards, like Thanksgiving e-cards with dancing turkeys that you could stick your face on. They were great. I actually had a lot of fun there. But it was only an internship, and even without any other job availabilities, I ended up packing up and moving to LA with a single suitcase full of everything I had. I skipped out on my college graduation. I moved to California and with a lot of student debt, and there I was. During that internship, I was still applying to more jobs and more of everything and anything, and I continued getting rejected. And I kept trying to learn from my fellow peers from other schools like CalArts and Gobelins. I was just reaching out to anyone to help critique my portfolio, to tell me like what I was doing wrong. But that ended up leading me to my first lesson, which is don't take rejection personally. And this is such an important lesson to learn early, because there are even some professionals that still can't take this advice. And I am so thankful I did learn this early, because it kind of set my soul free. There are many reasons why you might not be selected for a job, but none of them should be treated as a death knell for your career or your potential. These are, in my experience, some of the most common reasons that I have been rejected, and that I, even as a showrunner, have rejected applicants for. 1, and I'm just gonna read off this. 1, the style doesn't suit the show, which is pretty self-explanatory. If you have a wacky, bouncy, comedic storyboard portfolio, for example, it's not very likely you're gonna end up working on a super action-y, dramatic show. The styles just don't mesh. 2, your skills just aren't there yet. It's very important to learn how to view your own work critically without letting yourself fall into a spiral of self-doubt. Everyone has things that they need to improve. I'm like, kind of looks like crap. I wish I did better on that. Like, we all have things to learn. It might be helpful to start seeing everything as a bit of a learning opportunity. You may not have the job, but you will get the data to learn how to get the next one. And 3, maybe your work is great and it's perfect, but there was just someone who was a little better, and that's it. This one hurts, but sometimes a showrunner just has to choose between two rock stars and it becomes a literal coin flip. Personally, when this happens, I try to take note of the people who did not get the job so that I can reach out to them later. And it still even happens to me 10 years after starting this when I'm like pitching a show or consulting on something. It's just the nature of this industry sometimes. Studios and showrunners may not tell you why you weren't hired for a job. Sometimes you can ask, but usually the sheer amount of applicants makes it difficult for production to respond to anyone, let alone everyone. More often than not, you will have to judge for yourself. The point of the lesson is to not give up hope. Ooh. Questions? 2 questions. Yes, in the orange shirt.
12 years from that, the industry has changed completely. AI disrupted the entry-level positions. What would you do? If you were graduating this summer, what would you do to find your first job in the industry?
Can you repeat that last part one more time?
What would you do to enter the industry in this day and age, basically?
That is actually a very good question. AI has disrupted a lot of entry-level jobs, and there are still ways to get that entry-level job. It's just the percentage of people getting in there are much lower. I think it's been really, really beautiful to see how many independent creators have gone onto Patreon, have started creating their own animatics for their own shows, monetizing off of YouTube, off of these other independent platforms, and basically creating their own jobs and creating. No. Thank you. So it doesn't completely solve that problem. It doesn't completely destroy AI, and I'll take this chance to say fuck AI. Kick it to hell. But in the shadow of this problem, there are people who are making a name for themselves independently. It doesn't make it easier. It's actually very hard to do, but it is a path. And I hope to God the industry does recover from it, and I hope these larger indie studios end up becoming larger and larger so that they can supply more jobs for entry-level positions and training positions. But in the meantime, you can use your passion and drive to create independent projects. Yeah. Second question. In the blue shirt? Yes.
I am still in university, and I think this is a great question that I really have to know. If I am still studying, what do you recommend for people that are still not out there looking for jobs? Like, am I supposed to work harder? Am I supposed to like start searching for jobs, or is there like some kind of trick so I have more luck looking for jobs?
There is no trick to learning to getting a job other than just applying to as many as you think, and everyone's journey to getting their first job in animation can be completely different. I work with high school dropouts. I also work with Harvard graduates. I work with people who have had personal connections into the industry, and I also work with people who have, like I mentioned before, came from YouTube, worked their way up. You just need to, I think of this phrase often, know thyself and know thy circumstances. So whatever you need best in that moment, like sometimes you need a job outside of the industry to support yourself while you're still doing your thing, while you're still making whatever your dream project would be, or working on your portfolio for your dream job, and applying to stuff relentlessly. I think that if there's any advice I could give for that, it would be to just keep applying to jobs relentlessly, and don't let rejections get you down. Like I just said, it's not personal. The industry is in a rough place right now. So that's why you just got to keep going while drinking water and, resting and all that. But I mean, like applying and applying and applying until you get something. Or And also work with your friends. If you have, this is a wonderful place to connect with new artists and new collaborators. And if you meet someone who needs something that you can do, well, there you are. The events like this really, really help. Yay, Pixelatl. Thank you. All right. My first job on Gravity Falls. After so many tests and so many more rejections, man, I got rejected from Pixar, DreamWorks, Titmouse. I got rejected from Nickelodeon. I got rejected from the guys who made Gumball. I got rejected from Powerpuff Girls 2017. It was a lot, but I did not get rejected from Gravity Falls. So thank you. And I became a storyboard revisionist. What I didn't tell anyone while I was applying to this, and maybe this could help with your question as well, was I didn't know what a storyboard revisionist was at the time. So I definitely pretended when they told me, like, yeah, so your test was great, but since you're, new to the job, we think you'd be better suited as a revisionist. How do you think about that? And I'm like, yeah. Fantastic. So I came to this lesson even faster than the previous one, which is be prepared to learn on the job. So, for some context, all throughout college, I was 1,000% positive that I would end up being not a board artist, not a director, not a showrunner, but an art director. I loved art, I loved design, character design, BG paints, color scripts. That was the stuff that I was learning during my free time. And it was my goal. And especially at SVA, during that time, we didn't have storyboard classes or writing classes. It just didn't feel like an option for me. But this still applies to the question you asked. So when I moved out to college and I was $80,000 in debt, I had bills to pay and I had debt to pay off. So I was applying to basically any job that was drawing based. And I was like, yeah, storyboards. I've done storyboards before. Yeah, storyboard revisionist. Yeah, I can do that. I'll figure that out. And so when I got the revisionist position on Gravity Falls, I did spend all of my free time studying films, asking my directors annoying questions about storyboarding, my directors being Steven Sandoval, Sunil, and Matt Brawley, who ended up making Amphibia. Much love. And because of them, I learned how to board, which ended up pushing me towards basically everything else in my entire career. I just didn't want to be a hiccup in the pipeline. I wanted to contribute. It felt like I tricked someone and I had to make up for it. So halfway through the second season, apparently I was doing a good enough job that they promoted me to storyboard artist, and I got to animate a couple scenes like Stan punching Bill to death, Bipper like falling around, and a couple other things which were really, really fun. Oh yeah, Wendy getting hit with an axe. That was great. My boards weren't the best, but they inspired me to study, and I'm ever thankful for that position and that experience. Questions? Yes, hello. Yes, you.
Hello. First of all, thanks so much to be back. Dana, it's really good to see you back in Pixelatl here. So my question is, now you went from working on a studio to going fully independent.
Yes.
What do you think is going to be now the biggest challenge, since you say you're learning from the job? What's going to be the biggest challenge now that once you were on a studio, now you're going fully independent?
Independent pays less. I'll be totally open about that. I mean, working at Disney with all the troubles that I did have, I was working for a union studio with union rates. Now I work for an Australian studio that has Australian rates. And don't get me wrong, they pay me well, they treat me very well, they respect me more than I ever been respected in my entire career. But that is a personal struggle that if you end up going the indie route, that is something that responsibly any person needs to be aware of. They need to be aware of their own personal finances. They need to be aware of their rights as a worker. Even if you're not working union, there are labor laws across countries, across states, that everyone should familiarize themselves with. And they need to know how to read basic contracts. So suddenly learning how to do that kind of on my own was a challenge. Like I said, despite that challenge, Glitch has treated me well, so I want to say that out loud. With the plushie.
Hi.
Hello.
So the plushie, the name is Dr. Simi. So yeah. Well, my question is that all the studios that you apply, which one was like the most that hurts to be rejected? Like the one you were like admire over, or you were like, anything is good. Like the one who chose me. Like which studio hurts the most to be rejected?
I'm so sorry. I don't think I understand the question.
I'm sorry. My English is not good. Sorry. Which studio that you applied to work at? Which one was the most that hurt you the most for being rejected?
Yes. Okay, I understand now. Probably Pixar. Yeah. And the problem with Pixar was that I didn't even get a rejection letter. They just never responded to me. So I remember one summer, I was literally waiting next to my computer for like 2-3 months, like checking every day. And at that point, I should have known, like, it just didn't go through. But you're young. I was like 20. I had nothing to do that summer, so I was just refresh. That one hurt. But I feel better now. Right. 2015. Oh, if you're going at this one. So after Gravity Falls, there was about 1.5 years, maybe longer, of doing shorter gigs, not getting much work. And I was getting more rejections from more tests. It just happens. Even if you get your foot in the door, you will still probably experience times when it'll be difficult to find a job. It'll be difficult to get a gig. And kind of like right now, there's a pretty significant slump. I was taking any work that came my way, anything from like a 2-week gig of doing visual development to a friend giving me $500 to do something. And I was trying my best to get back into storyboarding. This was all before I ended up directing on DuckTales. So I was hired onto a princess show as a storyboard artist. Fuck it. It was Tangled. Yeah. Not the movie, Tangled the animated series. Well, I love the crew. I think the show is very sweet, but I had a very bad experience with upper management there. And this is a very important lesson that I need so many people here to learn, because I left this show because I did not feel comfortable or safe in this environment. I felt like it was a very unhealthy space, created by leadership and promoted by leadership, which brings me to this very important lesson, which if I was still working at Disney, they would probably give me a phone call about, which is, it's okay to quit a job. Yes. If you're able, because I want to acknowledge that not everyone's financial situation allows them to do this. But if you're able to, and if you are interested in going on the hunt again, allow yourself the peace of mind to leave a job that makes you feel unsafe. I can't tell you how many times I've seen talented peers stay in a bad situation because they don't believe that they have any other options, because their showrunners, their bosses make them feel too afraid to leave their position. Good luck on finding other work right now. You don't want to get blacklisted, do you? Don't ruin your reputation like this. That's just some bullshit people will tell their crew to keep them from leaving. It's... Your reputation will not be ruined if you leave a job under circumstances like this. If a job and if someone above you is making you cry all the time, quit the damn job, find something else, because they'll make you think that you need them more than they need you, but it's the opposite. They need you more than fucking anything. And that's why it is important, and I'll say it again, to learn your workers' rights. Be open and communicative to your fellow coworkers and your fellow animators and crew members. And the people sitting next to you right now could help you out of a bad situation later. So get to know everyone. Be friends with people. Like, you guys are comrades in this. And this subject, of course, gets me pretty heated, so I'm going to go on a rant from a showrunner's perspective and just like, look at this, because I wrote this whole thing down. So, from a showrunner's perspective to future team leaders in the audience, because I take this job very seriously, and it is 100% on a director, on a showrunner, on a supervisor, and on a manager to take lessons from their team as much as the team takes lessons from them. If you're in a position of leadership and people are leaving your show consistently for consistent reasons, there's a high turnover, there's a problem that you as a leader need to figure out. You need to be the problem solver. You need to create a better and safer space for your crew. And if others are showing concern for those same reasons, you need to pay attention. That is your responsibility. That is part of your goddamn job. And yeah. A thing to take note with that is sometimes there will be someone on your crew causing trouble. Sometimes that person will be you, and you need to acknowledge that, take responsibility, learn, and do better, and move on. And that's that. Questions?
So you just told us that you got rejected from lots of jobs, and you also say that it's good to quit, but obviously then to get another job. Do you have any advice to not get rejected?
To not get rejected?
Yes, I mean from your experience. Let's say you have a story, something you want to tell. How do you sell yourself?
Even to go back to the previous question, there's no trick in getting your story to be the one. Being friendly, being open and communicative, that certainly helps. Having a clear story with clear characters also helps, but in an industry like this where things are kind of, who the fuck knows what's going on, might not be enough. None of it might be enough. Which is why, like, if your goal is to tell a story that you are truly, truly, truly passionate about, that like it's something from your soul that needs to come out, just make it. Whether it's a webcomic, whether it's your own animatic, whether it's something that you want to kickstart, all those are very risky things, but that's kind of the only road to create a passion project at this moment. And there's no trick nor any advice that will make you more, I don't know, more, what's the word I'm looking for? Won't make you like a better deal to the people you're pitching to. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, in the white hat.
Sorry, I'm gonna read this because I'm nervous. But thanks to Great the Old House. What advice will you give to someone who wants to be a showrunner or a project manager and just graduate?
I would advise that you learn the pipeline of animated project as much as possible. Because you are looking at everything from a bird's eye view in a showrunner's position, it's helpful if you know what it's like. You don't need to know how to do every job, but it is helpful to know how much effort it takes to be a background artist, to be a background painter, to be a 2D animator, or if you're in 3D, to I don't know anything about 3D, to know how much it takes to do lighting or 3D animation. But like whatever your goal is, whatever medium you want to get into, like the more you know about those positions, the better you can help your crew, the better you can schedule things out, and the better you can like problem solve the eventual problems that will come up. So talk to your friends who are in other positions. Just, you know, keep doing research, keep talking to the people around you. And if there's a position that you are unsure of, just don't be afraid to ask questions. Yeah. Thank you. (2016) DuckTales and pitching. So after some years of a lot of ups and downs, more tests, more rejections, it kept happening. Simultaneously, I was also pitching 2 shows I had developed during 2015, which was Snaggleteeth, which I actually presented here a couple years ago, and The Owl House, of course. At this point, I knew I wanted to make my own show, and I wanted to experience leading a team. So when I got this offer to storyboard on DuckTales, I kind of pushed them to be like, what if I was a director? What if, what if you made me a director instead? So with some pushiness and stubbornness, they actually allowed me to direct, be an episode director on DuckTales, and I'm very thankful to Frank Angones and Matt Youngberg for believing in me. That was a really good experience. Oh my God, I worked with John Aoshima. I don't know if he's here in the crowd for that, but thank you, John. I learned a lot on that. But today, let's see. Creating your own show can look very different. There still is a path through mainstream studios, but as we all know and have already been talking about, studios are bringing on and accepting less original content and more IP-driven shows. And even those are having a hard time getting greenlit sometimes. Audiences want more. It's sorry. I do get frustrated even just thinking about this. Even though I have everything written down, I get frustrated thinking about how studios are only interested in IPs. And even when they have some stuff in development for these said IPs that they're so interested in, they still will take forever to develop them, to greenlight them, to do all this stuff. When audiences we want stuff. We not only do we want jobs, but we want to watch cool stuff. But luckily, the amazing development in indie animation has really inspired me, and I've seen it inspire other people in creating their own stuff, creating their own audiences. I'm very happy to have found a home with Glitch, and I'm happy that these studios, funded almost directly and fully by merch and by viewership rather than stockholders, offer such a fresh air for the breath of fresh air for the medium. New stories, unedited stories, no S&P involved, at least that I know of. And what's more beautiful is that this seems to be like an international phenomenon from the States, Australia, Japan, Mexico, Philippines, like on and on and on. Like everyone is creating these new independent studios and creating beautiful things. But there is, and this next lesson is interesting because I think it can apply to a lot of people here, but not every indie pilot can or should be a fully realized masterpiece. because a handful of successful indie studios rising in popularity and success, many young creatives and small teams feel the need to compete at the same level when they only have a fraction of the funding. And like I was saying earlier, if you have a story burning in your heart and it just needs to get made, then go for it. But know thyself and know thy circumstances, right? Know thy limits. I literally have these phrases on sticky notes above my Cintiq. I've seen people put themselves in a financial hole because they didn't expect that creating a Kickstarter or a fully animated pilot would cost as much as it did, or be as difficult as it was. Do you have a few friends willing to help you out? Do you have a whole studio behind you? You need to know like what is actually capable for you, which is why I want to give a shout out to Pretty Please, I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl. Yeah, by Kiana Mai, because that is a perfect example of something that like anyone can do here. A good story, clear characters, and it's an animatic. Any funding that she did had went towards voice actors, original music, and even if she didn't have that stuff, I'm sure she would have had like a few talented friends help her out with that stuff, and it would have been just as successful because it was just so well made. And it's just an animatic. Anyone here can make an animatic. So and she's selling plushies from it. It's beautiful. Not everything needs to be a 22-minute movie. Or make a webcomic. That's kind of what my plan was going to be if Knights of Guinevere didn't work out. Hell yeah. Questions? I forgot I drew that. All right, let's get some people in the back. Yes, with the waving. Yeah.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hello.
I have the question of how you can manage, if you can quit your job, can't, and how to manage the toxicity in the industry.
How to manage the toxicity in the industry?
Yes.
9 times out of 10, the toxicity comes from the top down. So from bosses, from executives, from studio management who don't even know your names. And the best way to get through that and to find camaraderie and to learn how to navigate it, because every situation is completely different, is by getting to know your coworkers, being open with your coworkers about what you're dealing with, and what you feel like is being done incorrectly, and either you can become a united front to speak to your supervisors, or one of my good friends, I won't say their name or the situation, but they were dealing with a very bad situation at their own studio, and they banded together to all quit their job at once because people were being treated very, 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 very unfairly. There was some like verbal abuse going on, and that ended up changing the studio entirely. So yeah, for navigating toxicity in these environments, like you have to get to know the people you're working with. You're welcome. Yes. No, with the phone case.
It's because I.
Oh, okay.
It's because she was helping me. So,
Nice.
Hi.
Hi.
My question is, as a showrunner, how do you keep the balance in the team? You know, so like everyone can understand what are you trying to make, but also don't burning them out or don't burn yourself out. And yeah, so don't you keep like a great environment.
When I learn how to not burn myself out, I will let you know. But until then, to create balance with your crew, this is the kind of stuff that I am learning more and more about the more I do this. I've taken lessons from Owl House that I'm hopefully improving upon during Nights of Guinevere. But I think what helps is getting to know your crew. And similar to my answer before, getting to know the pipeline and what they're going through, and really creating an open and comfortable environment where people feel like they're able to talk to you. There are so many showrunners who you can't, there's like unspoken rules of like, oh, you can't talk to them. Oh, you can't like look them in the eye. Like their door's closed. You can't bother them. That stuff, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's a way to run a crew. And the more you know about your crew, the more the crew feels safe to talk to you. The more you can understand their struggles, their needs. You can help schedule things better for them, which helps keep them from getting burnt out or recover from burnout. And there's no immediate, simple solution to fix everything before the problem even happens. Sometimes you need to face a problem and take the wisdom you've learned from your crew, you've gained from your crew, and apply that to a solution. So, yeah, the long and short of it, the more you know your crew, the better you can help them. Yes. All right. Getting into Owl House development. So I pitched the thing to Disney TV. They were into the idea, and I moved full-time into development, which meant I was suddenly faced with a lot of new challenges, which meant hiring people, conducting interviews, working directly with writers, dealing with management, and having meetings on the daily, casting, music direction, all this stuff that I had never dealt with in my entire life before, outside of like student films. And the main thing I started to learn, which I am still learning and will be a challenge till the end of my career, this is a quick slide, how to trust yourself and others. Development at an established studio like Disney can be very confusing. You can be left completely alone and in the dark, and at the same time, you can also be bombarded with seven different opinions that all contradict each other, but you all have to get them done somehow. And they'll all be trying to appease whoever the big boss is at the time, so you have to learn how to find the note within the note and all this complicated garbage. And even outside of, the people you're working for, you'll have friends, you'll have coworkers that you'll be showing your work to, and you'll get different opinions from them. These are people that you trust, and they are all different. And it's very hard. It can be very hard to stay confident in a moment like that. I'll often tell people to follow their gut when it comes to creative decisions, but that's a difficult thing to train for some people. And it was during this time that I realized I personally was way too overwhelmed by too many opinions. And I'm human. I have a hard time brushing off negative opinions, just like anyone else. And it took me a while to learn how to collect data while staying true to my heart. I like stories, I enjoy the genres that I work in, and I realize not everything I make is going to be for everyone. So whether I'm showing a script to a trusted friend or watching a reaction video to a recently episode, so touchy. I always start by asking myself a few questions like, what do I want the audience to feel at these certain points? Fear, worry, discomfort, joy. How much information do I want the audience to catch onto in this moment? Do I want audiences to trust this character? Do I want them to learn something big here or think that there's something big going on? Then I'll watch people's reactions, I'll hear their notes, I'll hear from my friends, and I will collect the data. Which of their reactions or criticisms will help me achieve my goals, and which can be chalked up to personal taste and just ignored. Even if the response is super harsh, does part of me agree with it? And then I can learn from it, and it kind of takes the blow out of those things a little bit. it's tough to keep true to your soul. And it's something I still struggle with sometimes, but more than anything, I see myself as a perpetual student of art, film, storytelling, and keeping things in an educational context has been very good for me as a storyteller and as a human. Questions? In the striped shirt, yeah. Yes.
Hey, hi Dana, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. I wanted to ask you, like, me as a student and a lot of us being students in college right now of animation, we are scared. I am scared of the industry. We have seen like the AI, how animators get fired constantly. So how do you deal with this fear? Like, what can I do? Do I start my project? Do I start like a showrunner? What can I do? Like, that's my basic question.
These are questions, aren't they? The fear of AI, the what can I do? How can I feel confident and less scared? There's hopeful news, but there's also the reality that everyone is scared. Everyone in my position is scared. If Glitch closed down tomorrow, I would be out of a job and I wouldn't have many opportunities myself. Everyone is having a difficult time finding work. That doesn't mean they're not out there. They're just harder to find. One thing that can bring hope during a time like this is that we are seeing more independent things and more stories that, come on, more stories that are coming directly from artists. Are those projects all financially viable? Will they all make you insanely rich? No. But can they be avenues to still express your creativity and work with beautiful people and maybe create the bones of something amazing? Then do that. Like, you do that to bring yourself hope. And during this time, you also have more time to learn about the industry, learn about workers' rights, learn about these things that can protect you when the job market does get a little better, however it does get better, so that when you are back into getting those jobs, you can better protect yourself, and maybe we won't get into this kind of nonsense again. And as far as AI goes, there seems to be a pretty decent backlash anytime a studio tries to use AI. It does seem to not do well on the large scale. That brings me a little bit of hope, but yeah, you're not alone in feeling that way. I'll say that. Again, in the back with the flashlight? That's one way to get my attention.
Hi, it's an honor to meet you. I'm going to read my question. You are one of the greatest known female creators in the industry, just like other amazing creators like Rebecca Sugar. I know there are more of them. We even got to meet some amazing female creators here from Latin America some hours ago. The thing is that women are usually less known than men creators. So my question is, along your career, have you ever suffered from discrimination for being a woman? What advice can you give to young female creators navigating the industry and wanting to create amazing animated projects? Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Being in the same sentence as Rebecca Sugar is always like, wow. I admire them so much. But yes, I have. When you're a female creator, you tend to, I still get told that I'm not experienced enough for XYZ kind of job. I still get situations where people want to pay me less than male peers who have less experience than me. Sometimes it even comes from other women. And when it comes to premiering a show and having an audience, you get a lot more uncomfortable, stalker, creepy type attention. Yeah, there's a reason I don't post online much anymore. But all I can say is, if you are passionate about creating, just create. Fuck them all. Keep advocating for yourself. Make friends with other female creatives, other female showrunners, other female artists. Figure out what they're dealing with and see if it's a pattern that you might be dealing with as well, if you feel like you are in a situation. But never stop creating. Always keep drawing. Fuck the losers. And believe in yourself. It's cheesy, but it's true. Never give up. All right. I will start going through these a little faster. This one jumps just straight to the lesson. When you are a showrunner, you have a team for a reason. Animation is a team effort. We all know this here. And even if this is your show with your characters that you've had since 5th grade or whatever, even if this is your favorite IP that you've loved since 5th grade or whatever, you have a huge team of artists, animators, writers, production people that are all there with you. Don't try to do everything on your own, even if you can, and you can't. You just can't. There's not enough time in the day. Surround yourself with people who are better than you and let them do their job. I'll be honest, these years while in production for Owl House, they were hard to remember, especially the ones before the pandemic. It's dizzying, chaotic, fun, and terrifying, and more stressful than anything I ever dealt with in my entire life. But none of it would have gotten done without my team and without me giving up a little bit of something to let someone else do it and do it better than me. It's extremely important. And I'm sorry for this section being so short, but maybe talking with you guys is more fun anyway. So, questions. In the back with the waving arms. Yeah, you're right next to the volunteer. Hello.
Sorry, I couldn't believe it. Hi. My question is about exactly this part about co-working with multidisciplinary projects. Can you tell us about how was your process to learn to communicate with all the parts of a project?
I kept asking questions. I kept being pretty annoying to my coworkers. I just wanted to know, like, even when I first got my first job as a board artist, I didn't quite know what went into episode directing or character design or BG layout, or what it was like to be in a writer's room. So I would ask everyone, like, what's this like? What's this like? What are you doing there? There's a character designer on Gravity Falls named Robert Ryan Corey, and I was constantly bugging him, being like, what are you doing? What are you doing there? Why are you doing that? What are you doing that for? So even if that was a position I never ended up having myself, I learned more from the people around me. So I think the more you know about someone's job, the more you can empathize with your coworker. And that just helps with kind of every position up the ladder. Yeah. Thank you. With the one holding up the poster. Oh, the red big poster in the middle? Yeah, that one.
Hi. Hello. So I know you already told us this at the beginning of the talk and many, many times through all this time, but what is something you told to yourself to not give up and still look forward in a job at the animation industry, knowing that you could apply to something else? And what is something that you can tell us, artists that are about to enter this world and this industry, to not give up?
I started drawing because I didn't know how to talk as a kid. I didn't know how to communicate my feelings. I didn't know how to be around other people, but I knew how to show people my drawings and how to give people art and communicate through doodles. That is still why I'm making stuff. That's why I'm still not giving up, because I still don't know how to talk to people. I still have a hard time feeling like a human and creating these shows and creating these characters and writing and drawing, whether I have all the funding in the world or whether I don't have anything and I'm just doing this on the side. That is important to me as a human being. So I don't think anyone should give up, even if you have to take a job in a different industry. Never give up art. Never give up on creativity, and never give up on creating your own truth. I think, is that the second question or the first? Yes, with the black glove? Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
So I was interested in the pitching process. Is there something, a lesson you learned while you pitched the old house or your new show?
Something about the animation process?
The pitching process.
Oh, the pitching process. Yes. What I learned is that it's okay to read from cue cards. If you're nervous and you have a little bit of stage fright, that is okay, because as long as your story is clear and as long as your characters themselves are doing the talking, it's okay if you're in a corner reading like this. Don't ever let stage fright or anything like that make you feel like you can't pitch. There are ways around stuff like that. That was one of the biggest lessons for me. I still read from cue cards. I'm doing it right now. All right. Moving on to The Owl House airs and the world locks down. I'm going to wing this one. Yeah, the first season aired during the pandemic, and I ended up making all of season 2 and season 3 locked down from home. I think a lot of us here are now used to working from home offices or from your desk next to your bed. And for me, after having been in the studio and then suddenly never seeing my crew, it was awful. And when these episodes were premiering, as a congratulatory gift, my mom didn't send flowers, she didn't send anything. She sent me a hazmat suit with some disinfectant. This was also a difficult time because the studios, Disney wasn't taking care of us the way they could have. They weren't giving us... No! They weren't giving us the time we needed to live in the pandemic. They weren't taking into account how scared people were, how sick people were getting. I had an aunt pass away and I couldn't go to her funeral. They just wanted things to continue on status quo without taking anyone's mental health into consideration. They would say oh, you can take a day off. Oh yeah, you can take a mental health day here and there, but does that mean that the schedule gets changed? Does that mean anything gets moved? No, not unless you yell at them, not unless you ruin your reputation by looking out for your crew. It was a horrible experience. It was just awful, but it taught me one of the most valuable lessons, which I've already touched upon a couple times, that it's just a cartoon. Take care of your team and yourself. This isn't just a lesson for artists, it's future showrunners or art directors or anything. This is just a lesson to those of you who will rise the ranks and become executives yourselves. Producers, studio CEOs, be kind, be considerate. We need good people helping us. We can't do this ourselves. God forbid the pandemic happens again or something else happens. We need help. Questions? Let's see. Waving the green card in the back. There's more objects being thrown around. Please don't hit anyone. Hi.
Sorry, I'm daltonic. So the question is, when leading your team, when do you draw the line between listening to the team and their opinions and their vision and trusting yourself and being firm with your own vision and opinion?
Oh, that's a good one. I like that question. So if this is your own show that you created, your own personal project, what I found helpful is I create lists for everything. Creating a list for what the themes are of the show are, why it exists for you, what's important about the characters and the characters' arcs, and whether it's an episodic show or a more serialized show, what you want to do with the characters, how they get from A to B. That stuff should remain as solid as possible, unless someone from your crew brings up something that's like genuinely problematic that you need to look for. But otherwise, like, you have a list of big picture things that you can absolutely stay true to. Now, how the characters get there, now how your crew members can help elevate those things, that's where you can take in more opinions, that's where you can give people more autonomy, and create like a fun collaborative environment with people. Yeah. What's going on? Okay, let's not with the umbrellas. No more umbrellas after this.
Sorry. Let's say you have your crew and you take care of your crew, but your crew isn't taking care of themselves. How you can help them to understand that it's okay to stop working, it's okay to take time to themselves. How you can help them in that way?
You can tell them that up front. And if it's usually if a crew member is not taking care of themselves, or if they're working too hard and working weekends, that's like the canary in the coal mine, right? That means that there is some other kind of underlying problem that you need to suss out. Maybe the schedule is too tight and it needs to be lengthened. Maybe there's something going on at home and they're not telling you, and they're dealing with a lot of stuff, right? And then you need to be able to be like, hey, it's okay, you can take the time off, like, don't worry about it, we can cover you. It's all about creating that safe and open environment where if there is an issue, they're coming to you. Because no one works their ass off because there's nothing going on. There's usually some pressure that's forcing them to. Yeah. It looks like we didn't even finish. I will, oh my God, I'm at the very end. So I'm gonna speed through these and this will be the end. The end of Owl House. There's roughly a year, maybe under a year of nothing in between Owl House before Glitch. And after having spent so many years dedicating myself to the most difficult job I ever had, I felt empty, I felt depressed, I felt like, wow, this is a weird part to speed through. But I felt extremely low, and I was not taking care of myself during that time, especially because it was during COVID, and so I crashed. I was burnt out, and I had literally never been I had never felt that before. It was awful. I became depressed. I couldn't get out of bed. The only thing I knew how to do was work on Knights of Guinevere on the side. I'm very happy that it ended up getting made but I probably shouldn't have jumped into another showrunning job soon. But here I am, man. I got bills to pay. I ain't rich. But it does lead me into this lesson of create a routine for yourself. Have boundaries, have hobbies outside of animation. You have no idea how important that is for your physical and mental health. Whatever that means to you, whether that means like going on little walks every day, getting into powerlifting, D&D, whatever that is to you. Yes, D&D. Listen to books, listen to audiobooks, watch live action films, just do anything outside of animation, because when you do eventually crash and burn out, it'll help you recover faster. Speeding through. Well, 2024, 2025, you get the idea. Animation is difficult, and it is complicated, and it takes a whole team of people just to produce 1 minute. Right after Owl House ended, I was bitter and wrecked. I was worried my passion for animation busted permanently. And I had never doubted my love for this work before that, but that's just how hard this job got. And that's how hard this job can be during a time like this as well. You can feel, broken. Is it me? Is it everything else going on? It's a difficult feeling. In the end, knowing how hard showrunning is, knowing how hard even just drawing in my sketchbook is, I'm still thankful every day that I can do it. Any little ounce of creativity, any little way I can still express myself within whether it's a show, whether it's a drawing in a corner, I'm so thankful I can still do it, and I still have some kind of love for this medium. There's always something new to learn. There's always new artists to discover and to meet, and new connections to make, new friendships to develop, new characters to obsess over. Animation is hard, but it's also really fucking cool. And I am so glad I can be here to share with you the final lesson that I've learned is that you can heal. You can heal from a bad job. You can heal from burnout. You can heal and rediscover your passion and create something that fills your heart with pure, unadulterated excitement. You can dedicate yourself to creating better environments than the ones you've experienced and create better teams with the people around you. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Pixelatl. That's it.
Let's give it up for Dana. Que se escuche. Dana, thank you so much. Amazing, as always. It's a pleasure having you. Oigan, y antes de que nos vayamos, ya saben que la dinámica del cierre del foro, siempre les pedimos que hagamos una pequeña dinámica con el equipo de video. Can we make a little dynamic before you go? You want a picture? Yeah, of course. Take a selfie. Let's do it. Que salga toda la banda. Eso. Oigan, y la dinámica es esta. Before you go, Dana, we want you to do this, like this. Todos, a las de 3 yo les digo, empiezan a hacer así. Y cuando yo cuente 1, 2, 3, gritamos todos Pixelatl, ¿ok? Vale, todos. Empiezan a hacer así. Que tiemble el edificio. Vale, 1, 2, 3, Pixelatl. ¡Eso! ¡Que se escuche el aplauso! Gracias, Dana. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you. Gracias, Pixelatl. Nos vemos mañana.